What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Nathan, and on this planet we send it. And what we're going to be getting in today, well, we're going to try to get all the pruning done here in about the next hour because I'm about to head out on a Jeep trip. So I'm unsure which video is going to be coming first, but depending on which one comes first, you know which one's going to be coming next. So the plan for today is I'm going to go ahead and show you the tools I'll be using today, and then at every place where I'm going to be doing some pruning, I'm just going to kind of like highlight what exactly my approach is, what I'm looking for, etc. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put you guys on the tripod. We'll do a little time lapse and then we'll move on to the next one. All right, I got a plan in place. Let's go ahead and send it. So my tools of choice is number one, I don't anticipate I'm going to need this one that much today. I've kind of already scattered things out, but you need something to be able to cut the big branches. I should probably get a better one because this is kind of a crude cut, not very good for on the plant, but it does get the job done. Now, my pruner of choice is the Velcro number 7. I had bought some cheaper pruners, and all of them pretty much became bad, and I had to end up trashing them. So if you're just starting off, I recommend you invest in a good quality pruners. And these Velcro number 7s, what I like about them, they feel good in the hand, especially with the rotating handle here. You can do like 1,000 cuts and your hand never really gets tired. And I'm sure some master pruners out there know a lot better than me. So, all right, these are the tools of choice. We're going to go ahead and hop on over and prune down the hops, and we're going to then move around the garden. So the big thing here is not much to it, to be honest. I'm just going to cut down to where there's about maybe a foot or so available from where they originally started. And then I'm just going to remove all the excess down and get ready to trash that. All right, let's go ahead and send it. Now we're moving on to some of the stone fruit here. So we got the plum here, we got the peach here, and we got a different variety of peach here. And then I have my two semi-dwarf oranges in the middle here. So one of the approaches, the first thing that I immediately do when I approach the stone fruit is number one, I look for anything that's broken or anything that is sort of bent in a direction that I don't think is necessarily healthy. For example, this one is kind of like bending down right there. I want all of them to kind of be going upwards. And that way when they do have fruit, they're able to better suspend them. So the other thing that I'm kind of looking at is there's ways to prune to have maximum fruit. There's way to prune really for them to do everything. And to be honest, I don't necessarily choose any one particular route. I mean, you can even choose to kind of keep them small. And currently at this time, I'm going to kind of just prune very general. So right now, especially for these, since these are not too developed and I'm not getting as many plums as I want, I'm kind of let the plum side do what it wants, but still I'm going to, look for the broken ones, etc. Other things that, that I look for, though, just for the longevity of the plant is wherever I'm getting like multiple branches from the same area, I will chop those out because, I only want one branch coming out from one area. Now, when it comes to the peach tree over here, similar approach, but now I got to consider that this is on the south side blocking some of the sun for this particular semi-dwarf trees. So what I'm going to do this year, now the good thing is in the summertime, well, springtime, the sun will be coming more directly over the house, so it will get some sun, but I still want to be able to give it like some maximum sun as it's transitioning spring to summer. So I'm going to be lopping off that one big branch to allow more airflow within to the center. So that's probably going to be the majority of the pruning that I do besides normal maintenance on just making sure all the branches are basically pointing upwards. There are no deformed ones, and I'm removing all the trash. Now, what you're also going to see me do in this section is the goji berries are down here and are kind of coming up from the ground. You're going to see me cut all the goji berries down to the ground. That's how you prune goji berries. And then it looks like I missed a couple of suckers towards the end of the year. So as you know, in my garden, I try to stay sucker free. So we're going to go ahead and remove the suckers whenever we see them too. All right, let's send it. So let me go ahead and bring you guys in and show you some of the work. The other thing I forgot to mention is that I'm also looking for any branches that are like crossing over and possibly interfering with other branches. Those are other ones that I cut. Some of these I'm probably leaving up here when I shouldn't, but maybe I'll come back and prune some of them off. But for now, and here's one down here that's coming from the same one. I want them to be pointed up a little bit more. Oh, and these ones is a little too low. So, okay, that's probably good. Now, any ones that cross over are definitely ones that I cut. And also, when I cut, I try to cut basically, so this cut's probably not that good, but I try to have it at as much of an angle as possible, similar to this one, so that no water can sort of bead up on there. It just basically drips right off. If any dew or even from the sprinklers, any condensation builds up there. And then on this one, I did cut a couple of branches that I was originally thinking to keep that were going up above where my little home weather station is up there. So I didn't want to have any of that being blocked. So I cut that. Again, you got to just kind of cut for, what you think is good for your particular application. And in this particular case, I went ahead and favored my weather station over the fruit production. All right, I'm going to kind of lump these two together here. First one we're going to touch is the fig tree. I've already kind of looked at it. The only thing I really want to do is maybe there's one that's broken down there. I'm going to go ahead and lop off, and then I'm probably going to cut some of these down for size. And what I'm probably going to experiment with this year, if I can find the right branches, I'm going to cut one. Also, if you want to prune and not have any more come back, you want to prune close to like these different nodes, and you want to cut it as best you can to a 45 to where you can, to prevent it from having like 5-10 different branches sprouting out from there, unless you do want to have lots of branches cut out, kind of what I was mentioning. So maybe what I'm contemplating is, instead of cutting at the node, I'll find a place to cut in the center and see if I can't expand some additional branches this year. But I'm going to look to see if there are any candidates to do that prior to doing that. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to or not. And then just for the avocado tree, the only thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be removing some of the suspension here that I have to try to have the plant grow in its own direction. It's been up there for growing in the direction that I want it to. So it's been up there for a few months now. I'm going to go ahead and release everything and see how it all kinds of falls into place. And then we'll let it go for a little bit, see how things settle. And if I need to readjust and tie some things back up again, we'll go ahead and do that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and set you guys on the tripod, and we're going to go ahead and send it. So with the fig tree, I couldn't really find anyone to go ahead and expand. So I went ahead and let's just start from the top. I chopped it from the top just to kind of, temper it down. It is going to grow up pretty tall again. I already know that. That's what these tend to do. So I'm trying to just tame that down a little bit. And I chopped the one that was broken right here. And then the one that was right here was kind of crossing over. So I just cut that. And I figure that these will kind of either, if they interfere with each other at the end of this year, then I'll go ahead and look at pruning one of those back. And then this one down here, this one is still making it. I'm just not touching it and letting it gonna do its thing. And for the avocado tree, this is the year that I'm hoping that we get avocados on this tree for the first time. So everything, as soon as I took it off, appears to kind of settle in. So this one has settled more in a upright position, so that one's good. So does back there. Maybe this one down here is, maybe I might chop that one back. But overall, I'm pretty happy with where the avocado tree is setting up. Again, I'm going to go ahead and let it sort of settle after I've removed everything, just to make sure that it is, strong where it is. But being that I saw almost no movement when I released everything, that's a pretty good sign. Now, when it comes to pomegranate trees, being that this is not a stone fruit, it's okay. This really doesn't have too much requirements. The only thing you really want to do is, at least what I do, is I look for any of them that are like bent, super bent, and going in maybe the wrong direction. Again, I want them all kind of going upward, so I'll probably cut the ones that are broken and bending down. And then it looks like I'm going to go ahead and release the stilts here to have it stand up on its own weight as the leaves and fruit come in this year to hopefully strengthen it. So now the desire is that the trunk is strong enough to be able to hold the fruit and everything without it bending over. So we're going to go ahead and prune to that and let it loose, and then we'll see how it's standing up on its own after everything is done.
With this feeling I can't leave. I'm walking and I'm dreaming. Will you dare to give it all up and walk by my side? Do you see the road? Do you hear its call? Do you want a part of it? Just getting me above now. Just getting me above.
It is actually the next day because I had to go jeeping yesterday, but here's what it looks like, the pomegranate tree all cleaned up. Now it's probably a little congested there at the top, but I think it'll be all right. I think the ratio is you need like 55 leaves to every fruit. So when you're pruning, you also don't want to go too crazy, because even if the branches are just for growing lots of leaves, you need those too. But this is what the pomegranate looks like all cleaned up. That still does kind of have a little twist to the right there, and we'll be monitoring that. I might have to stilt it up again, but hopefully the trunk has strengthened over the last couple of months, and we'll be able to support the tree. Oh, but what's this? I didn't realize this yesterday, but I'm already starting to get suckers. So the growth is already starting to begin here on the pomegranate tree. So I'm gonna have to go get my pruners and cut those back. Correction, actually when they're this small, I don't need my pruners. I just come here. I probably do need my pruners. Probably was best to have my pruners, but in this particular case, I'm just gonna rip these things off and let it be. All right. I probably will come back with some pruners, but that one came off easy, and just cut these all the way back to the trunk. So another thing when pruning is making sure your garden is accessible to how you want it. So you'll see, like here on previous cuts, I cut here into the guava tree. I cut Big Bertha down because it was hard to mow the lawn underneath her, so I cut those back. And then similar, we're going to come over here to where the chicken eggs are. This branch right here from the elderberry tree is right in the way. So what I'm going to do, and I'll do this here just in a second, is we're going to cut that, get it out the way. And now, as a matter of fact, I'll do the next one too. My brother just called, and that's why that clip got interrupted. So just kind of showing here, now that I've cut down those 2 branches, I got some shade over here underneath the nest box, but I have no branches in my face now when I go to harvest. The final thing we're going to be pruning in this video is the grapevine. Now, if you are not worried about the direction the direction your vine is going, you see this, you got this one node right here, and you got this one node right there. You go after the second node, and you cut it. You got one node right there, you got one node right there, cut it. Now for me, since I am concerned about the direction it's going, because I want all my fruit to be on this side of my patio covering, and you can see this branch right here is actually going that way, I'm actually going to cut this whole thing off because I want to support the branches that are going into the garden and not onto the patio covering. So I'm going to go ahead and set you guys up on the tripod now, and I'm going to go ahead and just cut all that down, and I'll show you what it looks like at the very end. I figured I would just do a little before and after actually, so we'll take a little walk under the grapevine here to show you kind of where everything left off at the end of the growing season. Again, I'm trying to make sure that I highlight all the branches that are going to go as far as we can. Looks like I'm hoping that this year we'll make it all the way to the end here, so we'll have good fruit production going all the way along the patio covering by the end of the year. I'm going to show you some survival here and the survival of the fittest here in a second once we get to the other end. And I think you know what I'm talking about, but this is what it looks like afterwards. All cleaned up. Got everything down to just about 2 nodes. I think in a couple of places I went to 3 nodes. Just, you know, whatever. But right here, you can see I got a real nice thick branch, but I left that thin one on because if you noticed, I'm not sure how well the time lapse is going to show. That one that I left up there, it goes almost all the way down to where this other one was. So it's not necessarily the longest, but when we start getting down here towards the end, it starts off thinner, but when we get down here, you can see how this one is actually thicker than the one down here. So we're going to have a sort of survival of the fittest contest. We're going to see which one of these branches produces the best, and if the smaller one produces the best, even though, as you can see, as we get back down here to where we have some well-established bark and some thick trunk, I'm assuming that the thicker trunk is going to do better because it's able to pass nutrients, but we're going to see, depending on which one does the best, the one who doesn't is actually going to be cut off at the end of next year. All right, that's going to go ahead and wrap up this video. It feels pretty good now that I got all the pruning done for all of my trees with exceptions of one or two. Like Big Bertha behind me, for example, she's still producing, and so is my lime tree here. So, but once those finish producing, I'm going to go ahead and cut those back. I'll probably end up wrapping those within one of my regular garden vlogs, just because it's not going to really take too much, and it's very similar in the process. It's just different approaches for each of them, slightly different, not really different. For those of you who watch my jeeping videos, I actually just took a trip yesterday, and as soon as I get this video uploaded, I'm going to start rendering that and editing that and getting that uploaded, hopefully in just a couple of days after this one. So be ready for that. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.